Just getting a feel here for being a captain of the ship. I don't think I'm really cut out for this. It's really, really hard work, and you have to be tough physically and tough mentally, and these guys really earn it. It's just really something to get a feel here right on what is really a bridge of a ship, and this is where the captain would be right here.
It's an idea that's been floating around in the fishing community for quite some time. A lot of people felt that the history of the fishing and also the contemporary fishing industry is a story that should be told. More and more I think people are getting to know us and pleasantly surprised when they stop in. So this is called a wheelhouse or pilot house, and it is sort of command central for a fishing boat. It was created for us by the Fairhaven shipyard. A lot of the electronics you see were donated by Chris Electronics, and so we're really grateful to both of those local businesses. And then some of the things that are in the wheelhouse also came from people who've spent their life in fishing and who felt like we should have different components. So many fishermen actually, as sort of rugged as they are, when they retire, they often turn to model making as a way to remember and reflect on their life of work. These models were built by a man named Manny Silvia, who was known as Caruca, and he sadly has passed away, but made models of almost every Portuguese fishing boat in the fleet.
Looks like you've been able to collect a lot of really good stuff in a real short period of time.
And I think the floodgates have only begun to open, actually. So people have been very generous with sometimes giving and sometimes loaning artifacts. So this represents fishing as might have been dressed back in the 50s or 60s. He's wearing clothing that was donated by a retired fisherman named Marty Olson. The thing that a lot of people, particularly teenagers, really enjoy is the opportunity to put on a survival suit. Now, this is the Gumby suit that you would put on in the event that you had to abandon ship.
So like if I was really out here, the weather can get tough out here. So, you got to put the raincoat on and the whole thing. So if you come down to the museum, you can really get a feel for what it's like. It does seem like, we have the #1 fishing port here in the United States. And there are a lot of people that grew up here, me included, that probably don't know a lot about exactly what they do out there. One thing I do know is hard work. These people work hard.
They work harder than anybody I've ever met in my life. So it's hard work. It's also very dangerous work. You may or may not know that it's considered one of the most dangerous ways to make a living in the United States today. And there's been a lot of advancement in safety. Presently, we have an exhibit called Wheelhouse Technology from Sounding Leads to Satellites. And so we're looking at how technology has changed over time and how all of those changes have impacted people's lives.
All right, so here's a typical way to communicate, right?
This is what people would use, especially, in an emergency, if there was a death on shore and you had to reach somebody. So it's basically an iPad, but what we've done is to populate it with a whole bunch of interactives. This woman, Gladys West, developed GPS. Who knew that was the case. Over time, there are a couple of gentlemen, Paul Swain and Jim Dwyer, and then Max Isaacson on the Fairhaven side. All of them collected these nicknames, and we merged those lists, and then as people came in, they said, well, wait a minute, what about Popeye? That was my uncle. And so we added more and more. I think there are something like 450 names that we've got. I'm sure there are more out there, like Burnham Up Olson. I think he was not a good cook, for example.
I'm looking at this guy here. I don't think I want to mess with him. Scarface Jack. I think I want to stay away from that guy a little bit, I think.
We would love to have more volunteers. We have a great crew of about 30 volunteers that help us present programs and keep our gift shop open and do mailings and all of that. We are, of course, looking for people to become members to support us financially in whatever way they can.
Well, thanks very much for taking time out to speak with us here. We wish you all the best. It's really an interesting thing to be doing here, especially with our #1 fishing port. So keep up the great work and all the best.